All right, let's go.
Okay. So, you have been selected to speak with us today because you have been identified as someone who has much to share about the subject of the 1979 strike of Clinton Corn Processing Company. To facilitate our note-taking, we would like to record our conversations today. We also need you to sign a form devised to meet Augustana College's research requirements and 2 other forms to give the recording as a gift to the Clinton Public Library. Essentially, this document states that 1, only the information that you are comfortable being used in the research will be used. Number 2, your participation is voluntary and you may stop at any time if you feel uncomfortable. And number 3, you may choose to remain anonymous if you wish. Otherwise, your name may be used in future presentations and publications based on this research. Please sign the release forms after reading them if you agree to participate. After reading has been transcribed and you have placed whatever restrictions you would like on what information will be released, then the materials will be placed in the archives of the Clinton Public Library permanently. Thank you for agreeing to participate. We plan this interview to last no longer than 1 hour. During this period, we have several questions that we would like to cover. We do not foresee that any question will make you uncomfortable, but please let us know if it does, and we can move on to another topic. Please also let us know at any point you need to end the interview early, and we will shorten the interview. On the other hand, if time begins to run short, it may be necessary to interrupt you in order to push ahead and complete this line of questioning, or to come back for a follow-up interview. You ready?
Ready.
Alrighty. So, can you just give us some basic background information, your name?
Okay. Carl, C-R-L, Nord, N-O-R-D. And I was born and raised in Clinton, and I'm the 3rd generation to work down in that plant. And I was hired 6/12 of 62. I retired at 4/1 of 07. And I've been a lifelong resident of Clinton.
Okay. Can you briefly describe your association with the strike?
My association was strike. That was really a bad time in Clinton history. I like to say unions are very, very good if they have good union leadership. But when you have poor union leadership, they are very, very bad. And the history of strike is I went out and striked with everybody else, and I stayed out for 7 months, and then I found out that in Iowa, I did this on my own, in Iowa, after 1 year, anybody in that plant and anybody outside the plant can vote whether they want to accept the union or not. And so after 1 year, there's going to be a vote. And I knew there's like 2,300 people in the plant that were going to vote for the no union. And I knew that we were only down to about 750 outside the plant. So there's no doubt in my mind how the vote was going to go. And that is how they break unions. But as I said, good unions are a good thing. Bad union leadership is a terrible thing. Okay. That close enough?
Sounds really good. Why did you want to be interviewed for this project? And what do you want people to know about the strike?
I just wanted to let people know my views on it. And what was that part of the question?
Why did you want this interview for this project? And what do you want people to know about the strike?
I want to know people of the strike that it created a lot of hardship and a lot of hatred in the town. I mean, tremendous amount of hatred. And my own father was one of the founding members of the local years ago. And he would not speak to me for after 1 year. I did not talk to my father for 1 year because he would not talk to me because I went back after 7 months. And it went a lot deeper than that. There was divorces and there's terrorism. Personally, I had terrorism on me and my family during the strike after I went back. And I mean very bad. Molotov cocktails and all. Okay.
All right. So before, we're going to cover some information. You already covered when and where you were born, stuff like that. What was your childhood like, and who were your parents?
My parents were Emil and Emma. In my childhood, I come from a family of 7. So when you come from a family of 7, and your father is a factory worker, and you can imagine, we always got by. We always got by, but I had no golden spoon in my mouth. Good?
That's perfect. Where did you go to school, and did you plan on getting a college degree or military service?
I went to Clinton. I went through school in Clinton, and I wanted to go to college, but I said I come from a family of 7, and most young people don't believe this, but when you come from a family of 7 back in those days, is once you graduate from high school, I got $50 and a suitcase, and said, don't come back till you're self-sufficient, which was commonplace back then. And so no, I did not go to college. I went to work.
Okay, doing great. So what was the community like before the late 70s?
It was really a good community, and everybody pulled together, and in the company and the union always seemed to get along. I mean, there are always differences, and there are always short strikes, but nothing major. And it was a really good community, but after that, it was very, very, very bitter. For at least 10 years after that, it was very bitter.
Right.
And a lot of hard feelings.
What do you think would surprise people today about the Clinton that you remember? What's different then than it was today?
The workplace, I'll talk about the workplace. The workplace is, before, the younger people took care of the older people, and if you couldn't do your job, you always get help. Now the workplace is, get out of my way. I'm here. In fact, I was told by a couple young men that I was too old, they should get rid of all the old people. And that's the way the young people now in industry treat the older people. They have no respect. And believe me, that person that told me that, they sent me to job training. I always had the top job. And he did not learn anything. And he was gone within 2 weeks.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's comebacks. I mean, I always told my children to pick the brains of your older people and respect them. And that is what's missing in industry today.
Do you think for union and for PC alike, do you know if the strikers, Clinton Corn Company,
Okay.
Do you know if for most of the strikers and most of the people coming in who were rehirees, were they young or were they the older generation?
The ones that were there for years and years. And it's always kind of family oriented. They hired their children and relatives. And the new generation coming in was all very young. And one thing about unionism is when I went back to work after 7 months, I went on to a job, which was one of the top jobs, and I replaced, they took the guy off the job that day. He came from International Harvester, who was out on strike at that time. And here you have a striking worker from another industry coming up and taking the job of somebody on strike. So there's no such thing as solidarity, in my opinion. I hope I'm not getting too strong.
Absolutely not. So can you tell me a little bit about your job at Clinton Corn and your position in the community during the time of the strike?
My job at Clinton Corn is, I was not one just to be satisfied running one simple job. I could run every job in the division. And so I moved around a lot. And my position in the community was just a family man. I had a wife and 3 children, and I did not go to college, but my daughter graduated from Drake as an actuary, and she was valedictorian in Clinton High School. My son became a high school chemistry teacher, and my other son is a lab tech in a medical college in Wisconsin. So my position in life was, my legacy was my family. So that was my position in life. I mean, that's family oriented.
Okay. So, in response to that, what were the labor relations like at Clinton Corn? What was going on during the 70s and maybe the 60s?
Well, as I said, we had good union leadership when I first went down there. And usually the company, the people that become president of the union or head of the unions, the company would hire away as a salaried person. And then we got some very poor union leadership. I mean, terrible union leadership. And that's when the trouble really began. And a lot of union people are not going to like what I'm going to say, but Leonard Lewis at the time, he was president, well, he was plant manager. And if he gave you his word that he was going to do something, they shook your hand, you didn't have to have it written down on a piece of paper. And the night before this big strike happened, the union give Leonard Lewis and Bob Coons, which I didn't think much of Bob Coons, but that's besides the point, that they would accept the contract. Well, they went out and got drunk that night, the union men, and they had a fight amongst themselves. They come back, and they said reject it. And once they said reject it, that's like cutting your own throat. And then it was all over with. And so they did not keep their word when they made their initial agreement. That was the straw that broke the camel's back.
And you think the union leaders before Leonard Lewis?
Well, Leonard Lewis was the company man.
Oh, he was the company man. Okay.
He was president of the company.
All right. All right.
The plant manager of the company. The union people were Joe Murphy and Bob Kronovich and that group, and the unionship under Kronovich was absolutely terrible.
How so?
He did not keep his word. You have to keep your word when you're in a position like that.
Okay.
That's not going to go over big with the union people.
That's all right. Then going off of that as well, what can you tell me about the union in the Local 6 morale for the members?
Pardon?
What about the morale for the members of the union?
Well, before this strike, it was good. It was good between the union members and the company. And we had a wildcat too one time, and that was disastrous. A lot of good people lost their jobs in that wildcat. But well, then I shouldn't blame it all on the union. Bob Coons was a terrible, terrible person, in my opinion. He did not care who he stepped on, and he did not have no respect for the union. And then the union that was in a poor unionship didn't have no respect for them. The only good person for the company was Leonard Lewis, and he was an honest man. But Bob Coons, his object is he wanted to break the union, and that was his whole goal. And he did. So he got his goal accomplished.
Alrighty. What are the memories of the strike itself?
Mine are all terrible. You can believe this, you cannot believe this. But the only thing that got me out of trouble is I had contacted the FBI and had FBI here in town. And my family was getting threatened with knives. My daughter was getting threatened to get cut up. My wife's being followed around town. We're getting phone calls tonight when I was at work. We had wine bottles full of gasoline in the rag in it, thrown. If they would have been lit, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. Thrown through the back window of my truck next to the bedroom where my boys were at. And if that would have went off, my boys would have died. And so would somebody else. So it was not all peaches and cream. Believe me, this went on. And it's not just me, other people. And these are all caused by union people who were ticked off that people went back to work. But I just told you why I went back to work, because I knew it was all over.
Okay.
And there's a lot more terrible things that went on. Okay, one thing you got me on a roll. I come out of church one day, out of Mass, And I had this person waiting for me out. Oh, Carl, come on down. We got to get this big strike's going on down at work. We have a big demonstration. They had him sit down there. That's the time they threw them bottles and rocks and everything else. I said, no, I'm not going. So, I mean, there was a lot of terrorism on the union's part against the people. And that's what really tore a lot of people up too.
Do you think that really strained?
It caused a divorce. Not me, but it caused a divorce. It caused mental breakdowns. I've seen people have mental breakdowns
over being attacked and over.
Yeah, and being on the track and the strike and losing their jobs and yeah.
Okay.
You're probably not going to like this interview.
I think so far. Do you know the events leading up to it? Was there any more malice or any other wildcat strikes
Before
that took
this?
place? Yeah,
there was always strikes that may last a week or 2 weeks. And then I think one time it was like 54 days we were out, and I happened to get a job on the railroad crew laying track and stuff. So I made it through. But then there was this wildcat, which was bad, and it was caused by poor union leadership. And it was all set up. And it was set up actually by the company. It was common practice for people to have, at that time they had old panel boards, and they have light bulbs screw in the panel boards. Well, they would carry them in their lunchbox or something. And then when the bulb burned out, they'd put them in. Otherwise, you'd go to find one, they'd be gone. Well, they waited till this guy stole. He said he stole a light bulb. Well, he didn't steal a light bulb. He had it in his lunch bucket so he could replace it in the panel. And the company took that and fired him, and that took it to a wildcat.
And what year was that? What year did that take place?
Oh, well, that had to be like in '69.
Okay. All right. So.
No, it was, yeah, about '69. Yeah.
69? Okay.
Something
Any
like that.
other experiences other than that you can remember?
No, but everybody always went back to work, and everything went smooth.
So what do you think made people blow up into the 1979?
I've explained that 2 times.
Okay.
poor unionship by the union leadership, and by Bob Coons wanting to break the union. Now you take this for what it's worth, but they knew that they were going to sell the plant, Clinton Corn. Yeah, actually, it's Clinton Corn, Standard Brands, and the Bristol brand. And the Bristol brands knew they were going to sell. And what they did is they said, we don't want no union. So I know this is why Bob Coons had to break the union. And the people were not intelligent enough, they walked into it. And so they just walked into this. And I can tell you another thing, a year before ADM come in, when Standard Brand still had it, I was in the maintenance control room, and this man come in, and we had this old motherboard, big computer, punch card computer, and it didn't work. And he come in and dusted it off and put a coffee cup down. And he sat there for a while, and he says, here, sign this. He says, I was here and did this work. I said, you can do anything. I would not sign it. Well, he got really irate with me. I said, I don't care. I'm not signing it. So he called the plant manager. The plant manager says, Carl, just please sign it. And so I knew something was up there. And that person, a year later, took over the plant. So they had a plan a long time ahead. I mean, it was planned, and the union walked into it.
All right. At the time of the strike, where did your sympathies lie at the beginning compared to the end?
You got to really realize I was born and raised by a union founder. So I had to be with the union. And then when I found out what was going to happen after 1 year, that they're going to have a vote and the union is going to be out, and I went back to work.
All right.
But you got to realize I was born and raised union.
Sympathies change. How do others around you view the strike? Friends, neighbors?
Now or then?
You can do then and now.
Then they were very upset, and now